तेरा तू वास्ते में आवे अपना है बचाया तू वास्ते में आवे
Shalom alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Dr. Coker, with the program Bible Explains It All. Thank you very much for joining us from all over the world. We are bringing this program from Dallas, Texas, the beautiful, sunny, and hot city of USA. And thank you very much for joining us again from all over the world. And today we are just talking about NAFTA, and we are talking about the American trade deficit with other countries and how it is affecting the poor and the poverty-stricken people in America. Now, why did I choose this topic? You know, the reason I chose this topic is because poverty, just like in my previous program, I said the poverty is near and dear to the heart of Christ, and this is near and dear to Christianity. And now, since we have a president in the White House whose constituents are predominantly and probably in the highest number of floors, they are Christians, so this should be done in the fashion where the trade deficit and NAFTA should be solved in the favor of the poor people in America. So that's why I chose the topic, you know, why NAFTA? Why NAFTA is, instead of helping the poor in America, I believe it has exacerbated the poverty rates in America. Now, what is NAFTA? I mean, you are probably, whenever you turn on the TV nowadays, you hear the news, trade deficits, NAFTA, and NAFTA is a North American Free Trade Agreement. It's a treaty between Canada, Mexico, and the United States. And this is the world's largest trade agreement. And the gross domestic product of its three members is more than $20 trillion. And the reason you really need to know about NAFTA, it is for your finances also. It is for your that's gonna, whatever, if you're living in America and if you're not living in America, that may affect your pocket line, and you may find an ace for your personal finances in this program. When we talk any policy issue from the biblical lens, you definitely will find an ace for your own finances. Now, if you see, America is supposed to be the wealthiest country on the face of the earth, and it is because of its gross domestic product and because of its GDP. America is the top. I mean, when you say about the richest, this is the richest country you may ever have, because the GDP is so high. Even our GDP is higher than the Chinese GDP, but the poverty rate in America is still in the double digits. Can you believe that? And let me tell you, when we talk about the poverty rate in America's poverty rate is this: if one person is making anything below $12,000 or less, or family of four, if they are making $24,000 or less, they are in the poverty rate. Now, probably for a lot of other countries, this is just like a lavish style living, $24,000 or more a year. But for America, where everything you buy in $1, it is poverty. Okay, and a lot of people who are listening today, or probably, I mean, if you just go out anywhere in Dallas, you know, not far away, you'll find a homeless person. I just keep saying this over and over. And you'll see people stuck in the vicious cycle of poverty. So now how NAFTA and how this trade deficit may help the poverty rate. This is the idea, and what the Bible says about it, and that's exactly. Now, if you go in the Bible, and if you are with me, it's saying, Bible is saying, become the voice of low to moderate income, become the voice of the people who are stuck in poverty. Okay, and defend the rights of the poor. Now, when I say defends the right of the poor, according to the Bible, if you see Proverbs chapter number 31, verse 8 to 9, it's saying, open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute or poor. Open your mouth, judge righteously, defend the rights of the poor and the needy. Now, my brother and sister, the poor and needy are also in your church, probably whichever church you go to or whichever community you belong to. Before we solve the problem of the world, before we solve the problem of USA, let's solve the problems of our churches also. You probably see that there are probably people stuck in the cycle of poverty and destitution, so take care of them, okay? Number two, no one even listened to the wisdom of the poor. I mean, if you're a poor person, no one will listen to you. I mean, everybody will just look at you just like you're crazy. You know, even if you give them some good suggestions, so they do not want to listen to you. Because why? Because you're pauper. You are stuck in the poverty yourself. And it's written in the Bible. I'm not saying it's saying, but I say that wisdom is better than might, though the poor man's wisdom is despised. Okay, now what is the pros and cons? Let's go back to the NAFTA and the trade deficit. What is the pros and cons of NAFTA? Okay, there are so many of them, but I'm just gonna just touch base upon few of them. The pros and cons are this, that they decrease prices for consumers. You know, that's what they're saying for NAFTA, a North American trade agreement. So they're saying they decrease prices for the consumer. What good is this for the poverty when you take away their jobs in low? Well, yes, they decrease prices, but you know, what good is the decreased prices when the poor, they do not have jobs? Because the other problem with NAFTA is this, that we lost jobs in the sector where poor and people stuck in the poverty. We have lost more jobs in that sector of America. Okay, so trade deficit only is just like increase around $810 billion. I don't want to bore you with numbers and the figures this morning, but if you stay with me, you will find an ace for your own finances also. Now, 1993, when we signed NAFTA with Mexico and Canada, and NAFTA, they did describe that it will help low to moderate income people by just disseminating, you know, more jobs in those areas, but it actually happened exactly opposite to it. Now, if you see, the percentage of people who are living under poverty is still the same, but the people who started making more money in America, that have increased, but the people who stuck in the poverty, they are still the same place, you know. Now, if you see, the percentage of people who are making $15,000 or lower are the same percentage since 1993 when the NAFTA was signed. Nothing, you know, I mean, where did we get those jobs? Where did we increase those jobs? Those jobs were increased probably somewhere, if you would see, in the upper sector or the sector where people, they were making $150,000 or more. Where I'm getting all this data? You can get this data if you really go and you just check U.S. Census Bureau. You can check this data yourself. You know, I'm not making it up. Now, am I saying that NAFTA and the trade deficit is a direct, is just like probably directly responsible, or the causation in statistical sense? Is this a directly responsible for the people in the poverty? I do not have, I mean, if I just like probably run some regression analysis or do something else, I probably will be able to find their numbers for you also. But I'm not saying this, that's exactly what the NAFTA and the trade deficit is doing, but it may happen because the U.S. Census Bureau numbers are definitely showing that trend, and that trend is just like the proof in the pudding. Okay, so this is just like, and if I just take you, it's just becoming more and more fantasy. NAFTA is becoming more and more fantasy for the people who are poor in America, and we are becoming the voice of the people who are stuck in the poverty, who are homeless in America. And that's what this program is just becoming more and more. How can we just do something about those people who are poor in your church, the people who are stuck in poverty in your church? Why not start from our own country? Why not start from our own church? That's what this program is more and more becoming. Bible Explains It All by Dr. Coker, and I am your host, well-informed, well-qualified, and high analytical skills by the grace of God. Okay, now if you go Proverbs 12, chapter 11, it's saying those who work their land will have abundant food, but those who chase fantasies have no sense. So I would say this morning that the whole thing, we should strengthen the hands of President Trump in this sense to fight against the trade deficit, because for poor, all this NAFTA and the trade deficit is just becoming more and more fantasy, nothing more than a fantasy. Okay, so the poverty threshold is still, like I said, in America is in double digits, and we are running on the full. And some people, in my previous program, some people have said, hey, there's so many opportunities probably for the poor to just go and find the jobs. No, sir, no, madam, that's not the case. If you see, when President Lyndon Johnson, he declared the war on poverty in 1966, the unemployment rate at that time, it was 3.8%, and the poverty rate is probably the double digits. The poverty rate is still the double digits, my brothers and sisters in America. And if you see, we are running at 3.8 unemployment rate. What other opportunities? We are exactly running on the production probability curve. Actually, we are running beyond production probability curve, because production probability curve is just running 5 to 6%. So we are running beyond production possibility curve. So that's the best opportunity we can create for our people in America, and it is not helping poor people in America, and I'm telling you this. So we have to do something, and I'm just going to say we have to bring back those jobs, and we have to just fight this trade deficit. It's not only good for the poor people in America, it is good for the rich people in America, because you will see when the poor, your tax rate probably definitely, because now a lot of people, they are just complaining about their tax rates. So their tax rates will come down, and that will help not only the poor people, but the rich people. At the end, I'm just going to say this, Proverbs 29:7, Bible says that a righteous man knows the right of the poor. And a righteous man knows the right of the poor, but the wicked man does not understand such knowledge. So if you understand the right of the poor is this: whatever we do, whatever our government is doing, somebody has out there should watch, and somebody has to do something about the vicious like people living in the poverty. And blessed are the poor, Luke chapter number 6 verse 20-21 said, and he lifted up his eyes on his disciples and said, blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you shall be satisfied. Blessed are you who weep now, for you shall laugh. So my brother and sister, if we believe that these people who are stuck in the poverty, these people, whether they're in our church or wherever they are, these are people, they are blessed. So why not just go and do something for these blessed people, if that is our spiritual, and that is our spiritual duty to do so? Because if we are not keeping that spiritual duty, we are not. And somebody may argue this, with us, that, if we just probably close NAFTA, what about the people in Canada? Because people in Mexico, what's going to happen with those people? Right? People, they may argue this, and I do understand this, because definitely, people in Mexico, people in Canada, they may suffer, and they may see this poverty, and they may see, the jobs lost in America, when the jobs lost in Canada and Mexico. But I would say this to those people, first, if we take care of our own home, and then just, well, do not take it in the wrong sense, please, this morning. That's not, I'm just saying, we should not care about the poor in the other countries, because that's not what I mean. But it's in the Bible it's written, and I just cited the verse in front of you, the house you're living in, just worried about the house you're living in first. And that's what we are talking about this morning, that, when we have more disposable income here, right here in your hands, so not only the people from India, Pakistan, or whatever, whichever nationality they belong to, if they will have more disposable income in their hand in America, so they can help their relatives or whoever all over the world, wherever those people, and we can help those poor everywhere, we want to. And if you see, I do not want to go more into detail, but if you see, if you really look at other countries, so they do protect their economies with the high tariffs. And when you talk about the protecting economies with the high tariffs, let me give you an example of Canada. Canada, the dairy farm, they do protect their dairy farms. If you see, if you happen to go to Canada, if you see, the milk prices are much higher than the milk prices here in America. Why is that? Whether they do have the high tariffs, otherwise if they open their markets for American dairy lands, so the American dairy lands, they will just probably rush Canadians, and the Canadians' dairies, they probably just go out of business. Okay, so that's kind of the argument behind it, but that's exactly applied to the American industry. That's exactly applied to the American manufacturing companies also, and that's what President Trump is fighting about. That those, and one more thing, I just want to probably, if someone is just in our government, they just want to listen to this program, so they may find an ace, so what's going to happen? You're talking about closing NAFTA, you're talking about closing the trade deficit. What if all these manufacturing jobs now come back to America? What's going to happen? My brother and sister, if that's going to happen, you know what's going to happen? Because if you are people stuck in the poverty, and your people stuck in this low to moderate income household, if they are not ready and they do not have those skills, then you need immigrants to bring more immigrants from the other part of the countries, and those immigrants you have to bring in, because at that point we do not have enough people to run our economy, to run those manufacturing jobs, and then you will have an immigration crisis in America. Hey, hopefully you find an ace in this program this morning, whether you are the governmental person who is watching, whether you are a person, but I tell you, if you are in your church, take care of the poor right in your church, because the charity begins from home, and that charity is this: take care the people among you. And this is your host, Dr. Coker, with the program Bible Explains It All. Thank you very much for watching us, and thank you very much for your feedbacks, and we will just stand by for your feedbacks. If you have any question, you may ask us. Any philosophical question will be or any question, we'll be more than happy to answer it. Thank you, and God bless you. Bye-bye.